And now, straight out of Boston, Massachusetts, it's time for Entertainment Talk Nation, your number one entertainment talk show, discussing everything from the movies to video games and more. And now, here is your host, Robert Rosado.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, good Monday morning. This is Rob, this is E.T.N. And boy, what a fun weekend. What a fun weekend. We had the return of The Walking Dead, and we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view that happened last night. We're going to talk a little bit about Godzilla, and I have a couple of questions that were in the comment section that I want to address. Not many, actually, only two, but I definitely want to get to these questions because as the videos come in and more questions are put up, I want to respond to them in what I would like to call a Godzilla mailbag. So if you ever have any Godzilla questions or any questions at all, you can always leave them in the comment section. I am checking them and I will address as many questions as I can during recording. And Black Panther had a fantastic weekend, boy. Look at this, over 700 million worldwide already. Hasn't opened in China yet. It's been a great ride for what I think is a great movie. And we're going to leave that for a separate podcast later this week. We'll talk some more Black Panther. But today we're going to focus on those three topics. We're going to talk a little bit about The Walking Dead. We're going to review, and I'm going to give some thoughts on the Elimination Chamber and what's to come in the WrestleMania. And then we're going to discuss very shortly Godzilla. Primarily, I want to address those two questions. And I'll also talk a little bit about Cloverfield because JJ Abrams threw us a curveball over the weekend, and we're going to talk about that briefly during the Godzilla portion of this recording. So this will be a longer podcast than some of the shorter ones I put out last week regarding Godzilla, but that'll be no problem. You guys, if you want to just skip to certain subjects, you can just go right ahead and do that. So The Walking Dead returned last night. And very interesting. You know, I like The Walking Dead. I always have. Overall, it's been a show that I've enjoyed. It's kind of hitting its twilight now. You can kind of tell things are. I'm not saying it's coming to an end anytime soon, but they're on the back half of what I think eventually will be the ending. Possibly the Whisperer. You know, when they do decide to get to the Whisperers at some point, maybe shortly after that, that'll be it. But I can tell you right now. You know, there was news last week that, Lauren Cohan, who plays Maggie, had signed on to do a pilot, on one of the major networks, and she still has not signed a contract. As of this recording, as far as I know, which is now February 26th at 9 a.m., she has not signed on with AMC. So this is a big deal because, Lauren Cohan's character, Maggie, plays a very pivotal role. Well, she's always played a pivotal role, but none more than what she does shortly after this, at this point in the comics. So it's going to be interesting to see how AMC is going to handle this. Are they going to fork over the cash? Even if they do, does it mean that she's going to stay on because she's already signed on? Now, what she's doing is she's going to be in a pilot. Now, pilots are not always guaranteed to go to a full show. She could record this pilot. It can be viewed. And it can do horrible and they'll never do the show. And she basically gets paid for doing one episode of a project. But she did sign on because it is an opportunity for her to be front and center. She would be the main character. She's probably going to get more money than what she's getting at AMC right now. And she's going to be on a major network, not a cable television network. So, and with that added, she wasn't going to be getting the money she wanted from AMC, and she's not getting the exposure because a lot of the episodes for the last 2 years, have not been like they used to be where, you know, cause there's so many characters now that they tend to center focus on a small few, you know, Daryl, you know, Rick, things like that. And then you'll have a couple of episodes where they show everybody. So, you know, between this Carl thing that we learned about during the end of the first half where he was, you know, all but dead, and now the situation with Lauren Cohan, you know, and the drop off in ratings and stuff like that, I mean, the show it appears to be getting to the point where they're going to have to wrap it up in a couple of years. They're still getting great numbers. Even with the crazy drops, they're still getting great numbers, but you can kind of see the highlight of their twilight incoming. But as far as last night's episode, I thought it was really good. It was definitely a tearjerker. You know, it was a good reminder of, you know, when you go back and you look at some of the first few seasons and, you know, Chandler Riggs, or rather Carl, he's been there since the beginning. You know, he's been there since the beginning. And, while I still don't think it was a smart move to kill him off, it was a very well done episode. And I think they did a good job justifying why they did it. I think they told a great story. I think they made it very, very emotional. I think they pulled it off to a sense that you could feel for Carl, I think, a little bit more than what people originally feel for him. Because there were a lot of people that were not Chandler Rigg fans. They weren't crazy about him. And I think they did such a good job with this story, with this episode. I think you couldn't help but feel, because even if you're not a Carl fan, you're a Rick fan, and this is Rick's son. So, and when we all see Rick in pain, you know, if you're really invested in the character, you're really invested in the show, then you feel that pain. You kind of like, damn, you know, even though I wasn't a Carl fan, I mean, they were like two peas in a pod. They were inseparable. They did a lot of things together. They've saved each other's asses. Partners, you know, I mean, yes, they're father and son, but like partners in crime as well. And then, of course, Michonne, who was a fan favorite. To see Michonne there with a broken heart. And then when they exchanged the whole best friends line and all that, I mean, just sad stuff. I thought it was a well done episode, and I love the parallel between that and what was going on with Morgan. I thought that was well done. You know, I don't really do episodic show, reviews anymore, at least not now. But I had to give my thoughts on this because this was a big episode. A lot of people there was a lot of people theorizing as to whether or not he could survive somehow, if there was something that could be done, or, you know, a lot of theories that maybe he was bitten by a whisperer and whatnot. But no, I think it was safe to say even before this episode, he was dead. There were no reason to believe that there was any chance of saving him. And he got a very good send-off. I gotta say, he got a very good send-off. I have to say, I think it's probably one of the saddest deaths in the show since Little Sophia, in my opinion, because Sophia to me was a horrific death. It was just, you know, looking at what happened to Carol and all that. So I think and that for me personally was sad. You know, I love children. I love my kids. So when I see kids getting killed and, you know, and she was just like a little girl at that point in the show, it was so sad. It was heartbreaking. This is right up there, because even though Carl is a teenager now, he's still a kid. You know what I mean? And no son should have to die before their father. No father should have to watch their son die. We've all heard those lines before, but it's very true. It's very, very true. And when you're invested in the show this long, it does hurt to see characters you like in pain. And even as a father, you know, you could kind of relate. You know, you wouldn't want to see that. Or nobody. You wouldn't even want to see a kid. So I thought it was a very well done episode. Very good. Very good way to start the second half of the season. But the show overall is look, it's been around a long time. I mean, this is a show that has probably gone farther than anyone expected. You know, it was a big gamble to begin with. So I think they did a good job, but I still do think that them killing off Carl was a bad decision. I do think that if they let Lauren Cohan walk and they decide to kill her off or replace her, and in some ways replacing her is probably worse, then I think you can pretty much say that the end is near. You know, and when I say near, I don't mean like a year or two. I do think they'll get beyond the whole Whisperer arc and all that, but I think after that, it's going to be hard to tell. It's going to be hard to tell. Also, you know, they could end it after this war. You know, when you see Carl's vision in his dream and you see Negan there saying hi to Judith, I mean, you could just end it there. That would be the ending. That Rick delivered the dream that Carl had. And maybe that's going to be the TV arc ending. you know? So it wouldn't surprise me if after this war and there's some sort of peace and Rick manages to bring everybody together and they can end the show there and just call it a day, you know? So that wouldn't surprise me either. Because, you know, when we talk about the Whisperers, man, that's a big arc. That is a big arc. And there's a lot. And not only is it a big arc, it's an arc that's heavily involved with Carl and Maggie. One character we've already lost. One is halfway out the door. So it's going to be interesting to see where the show goes. But I thought the episode last night was really good. I thought it was exceptional. I thought it was job well done. And, you know, we're going to have to wait and see what happens. You know, Walking Dead is one of the few shows I still watch on a regular basis every Sunday. You know, every time that the show's out. I've taken to binging The Flash and Arrow now. So I'm not watching Flash and Arrow this season. Not because I'm not interested or I'm not a fan anymore. I just, they tend to take very long breaks. You know, like The Walking Dead has one long break, but The Flash and Arrow, they tend to take 2 long breaks and it kind of takes me out of it. And I don't like that. So I'm just going to wait until they're done because they go right to Netflix right afterwards. So it's not like I have to wait a couple of months before seeing those shows again. I can just see it the week after the season's over. So that's the reason I'm waiting on those. And, you know, again, a lot of you have been following the channel, or a lot of you that have been returning, because I've seen the subscriber count jump up. The viewer count on my last 2 videos are surprisingly high. I wasn't expecting that. So I'm glad to see there's a lot of support still out there. So a lot of you are very much aware I am working to bringing this channel back to what it was back in 2013, when I actually did visual videos with a green screen background and videos every day. And there will be a Patreon that will be started to garner support so I can get back to doing those videos by getting myself a studio. And yes, I will mention this in every podcast recording. Of course I will, because I know there's a lot of people out there who want me to go back to doing that. I want to go back to doing that, but I'm definitely going to need the help and the support of the community. And I'm doing videos like this because I want you guys to know that I do have the time to do it. The time is there. I can do it. Now the problem is the space, and I need to get my own space. So, with that said, I want to move on to the Elimination Chamber. So that was another fun thing to watch. You know, Sunday was a very fun time if you're a Walking Dead fan and a wrestling fan, because you had both of them. Obviously, both are on at the same time. I chose to watch the Elimination Chamber first, because, I wanted to see it. You know, I just wanted to see it first. And it was okay. It was an okay pay-per-view. The Women's Elimination Chamber was fine. Actually, I thought it was a little bit better than I expected. I wasn't expecting the ladies to throw each other into the glass or the chain links, and they did, so that was good. And, but again, this was a very predictable pay-per-view. You know, I was making wild predictions, basically hoping against hope. You know, I did feel that Alexa Bliss was going to win. You know, that I had no doubt about that. I actually wanted to see Nia Jax beat Asuka. Number one, to get that loss out the way. Because the thing of it is, I kind of feel Asuka does need a loss under her belt before getting the belt. No pun intended there. I do, because when she gets the title's not something you're going to take away from her right away. You're going to let her have a run. And I felt, okay, this run is it's been above 2 years now. You know, it's getting a little bit unbelievable. I know there's a lot of people behind it, but there's also a lot of people out there who are really behind Sasha Banks, really behind even Nia Jax to an extent. So I don't know if extending the streak into her championship run is going to be a good thing, you know, in the long run. Right now, it's great. It's fantastic, but I don't think a loss to Nia Jax would have been that bad. I mean, that's not hard to believe that she could lose to Nia Jax. And I really do think it would have been good to just get that loss out the way now before she gets the belt. But that's just my opinion. So Nia Jax, Asuka was a predictable victory for Asuka. The Women's Elimination Chamber was very predictable. Gallows and Anderson versus The Miz Taraj. I mean, does anyone care? But obviously Gallows and Anderson there. The Bar versus Titus O'Neil and Apollo. Again, very predictable. You're not going to take the belt off the Bar yet. So I didn't, even though Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews have been upsetting them, I didn't see that happening. Woken Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, I am very happy that this feud is over because it was a feud that should have been very good. A feud that should have been fantastic was a big dud, was a big miss. And I don't know why, because obviously Matt Hardy's gimmick is still over. I mean, everybody in the arena were chanting delete last night, but it seems to be missing something. And I don't know if I should be blaming, I don't feel like I can blame Matt Hardy. It feels like he's doing his gimmick. You know, when he does his promo, he does his thing. When he's in the ring, he's doing his delete and all that. I just feel like it's missing something, and maybe it's missing all the bells and whistles that surround the gimmick. You know, the Vanguard one and, you know, his wife, his son, his house, you know, all that stuff. I think it's missing that. And I'm hoping they bring that stuff in now, because this Woken Matt Hardy thing right now is not, and I'm not blaming him. I still like him. I still love seeing him come out and do the whole delete thing, but it needs more. It needs more. This rivalry should have been a lot better than it was. And it turned out to be a shit feud, a very bad feud. So, you know, I'm glad he won. I'm glad the feud's over, and I'm hoping that now that can launch Woken Matt Hardy into doing his crazy antics. You know, I don't care if he wins a belt or not. That doesn't matter to me. And it shouldn't matter to anyone else, but you want to see that gimmick because it's a great, great thing. It's still over with the crowd. I think a lot of fans, I think, are being patient with it because a lot of fans know how WWE is, but I don't know. I'm kind of a little concerned throughout that whole Bray Wyatt feud as to what they're doing with it. But hopefully, now that the feud's over, he can maybe concentrate. We know we don't know if Jeff is going to be Brother Nero when he comes back, or whether or not they're going to redo that whole match. Like, Jeff Hardy comes back and he's, you know, like, what's going on with you, Matt? Blah, blah, blah. This wasn't like you. And then they have a rivalry, they have a match, and then Matt beats Jeff, and then he transforms into Brother Nero. I don't know if they're going to redo that. They might. WWE has a knack for doing, for trying to make people forget about what's happened in other federations. So they might try to do it in theirs and, you know, maybe do it better. Who knows? All I know is they need to kind of they need to run with this Broken Matt Hardy thing. I think it still has a lot of legs, and it still has great potential, and I'm a big fan of it. It's one of the reasons I'm back into watching wrestling, is because it's one of my favorite gimmicks in such a long time, and it's kind of brought me back into watching wrestling. So I definitely want to see it succeed. I'm a big fan of it. The men's chamber, you know, I thought it was here's the thing. I thought in terms of performance, it was fine. You know, I thought the guys did well. You know, it's real funny. I'm watching them do their moves and this and that, but the crowd there seemed very dead last night. You know, they seemed very, very dead. Like, there was this, I don't know, they just weren't engaged. And I think I know why. I don't think it's because of the way the guys performed. I think it's because everyone knew what was going to happen. When your fan base knows almost a year in advance that Roman Reigns is going to go on to WrestleMania to fight Brock Lesnar for the title, what do they have to cheer for? Honestly. I mean, yes, they can cheer at the big moves like Braun Strowman going and cleaning house, but they know what the end result's going to be, and nothing proved that more than when after Strowman eliminated the second to last man, the crowd, when it came down to Roman and Braun, the crowd already started booing. And that's a problem. And even last night when I was on the Nation and we were talking about it, and I was like, you know, I think, you know, I said, I made predictions, either Strowman, Elias, or Reigns. I knew Reigns was going to win, but I think Strowman should have been the man. Everybody wants to see a solid 10-minute fight between Strowman and Lesnar. Nothing would, because, you know, a lot of the matches, they've had one-on-one match, which was very underwhelming because Brock Lesnar just pinned him in one F5. And, I don't know. And it's not that I don't dislike Roman like people do. I don't. I'm actually a Roman fan. I like Roman, but I understand why people are booing. Number one, they're booing because they don't like him. But number two, they had every right to boo. What's there to be entertained when you know what the outcome's going to be? So I, when I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, this kind of makes sense. I mean, if we know Roman's going to win, what's the point of cheering anybody else? That's a problem. It's a problem. And I think they've done more harm to Roman Reigns than they've done good by giving him this push. I really do. It's like, I don't think he's untalented. I really think he's talented. He's an athletic specimen. He's a big guy and, he's got a good look. He's got a great physique, but they're screwing up. Honestly, if it was me, I would take Roman right now and I would give him this crazy injury, fake an injury or something. Get him out of there. Get him out for like 9 months. Let the people miss him because I do think people would miss him. I do think people would appreciate his absence. I think there's so ingrained in their hate between the fact that he's getting a push and the fact that he won the Rumble when they thought Daniel Bryan should have won. They basically WWE has made Roman Reigns public enemy number one. I don't really blame Roman. There's some people out there who blame Roman because he comes in and, he look, every one of those fucking wrestlers come in looking cocky. That's nothing, and the fan base has changed. Everybody it's actually kind of boring because everybody cheers for the quote unquote badass. You can't actually be a good guy. You actually get booed if you're a good guy, which is pretty sad. But regardless, WWE has done more harm to Roman than Roman's done to himself. Now, I know he's said some crazy shit before. I know people are well, Rob, he did say that. I know he said some crazy stuff, but they all say crazy shit. I don't really blame the wrestlers. Their job is to work out, to go out there, to entertain. I do think he needs to increase his moveset. And not only should he increase his moveset, he's capable of doing it. He's got the athleticism to do other moves. I don't know if that's something that he's doing or that's something that they're encouraging. But I think another one of the reasons his moveset is so limited is because most of the time he's fighting big guys with a limited moveset. Brock Lesnar, for all the cheers he gets, does not have that many moves. You know what I mean? I mean, he's definitely athletic enough to do it himself. And we've seen him do some crazy shit in the past. But Brock Lesnar does not have that kind of moves. He's older. He's not going to be trying to do moonsaults from the top rope anymore. It's Suplex City, German suplexes, F5s, you know what I mean? Stomps, kicks, Muay Thai kicks to the ribs, shit, like some of his MMA stuff. Braun Strowman's limited. One of the best things Braun Strowman does now is that drop kick. I love that. That is just like incredible. It reminded me when the Big Show, back in his WCW days, the Big Show used to do drop kicks as well. Not standing drop kicks though. That's what makes Braun Strowman's drop kicks so incredible. They're standing drop kicks, which is great. Yeah, so I think, I like Roman. I do. But I think he needs to come out. This is what I would do. Take him out of the limelight. Okay. Get him out of that fucking gear. That's another thing that's hurting him. This whole Shield shit. Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose moved on from that. He needs to drop that. Drop the vest. Okay. Get a little color in your trunks. And yes, I think he should get the Superman punch is stupid. I will agree there. That is the dumbest finisher in the world. A guy that big to just do a jumping punch. No, he should be doing something like a suplex kind of finisher or, maybe a submission. He's got to have something other than the spear. And cause that's old. The spear, everybody does a fucking, you got the Gore, you got, Goldberg spear and everybody, enough with the spearing. You know what I mean? Gotta get rid of the spear. Gotta get rid of the Superman punch. Gotta get rid of the Shield gimmick. Gotta get rid of that stupid music. That's another thing. That music now is tainted. Everybody hears that music and it's like a trigger. It's like people are trained to boo when that music comes on. So I think this is what I would do. I would get Roman out for at least 6 months, fake an injury, get him back to developmental, come up with a new image, come up with some extra moves to throw into your arsenal, and then bring him back and then showcase him. And bring him back. And I'm not saying he has to change, like he has to start smiling and shit. He can still be that tough big dog, but just get out of the Shield gear and just get a couple extra moves, get a new finisher. You give him, he comes back 6 months later, you give him one solid match with somebody who's competing for the title, give him a solid match, You put him over and let him showcase the new moves, the new look, the new music, and believe me, he'll get over. He'll get over. Because fans will always, I remember when Triple H years ago, people hated Triple H, you know. Now he was an over villain, which Roman is not. But fans still appreciate work. You know, even though they hated Triple H, they got tired of seeing him win the title and cheating and all this, and people were sick of it, and I was sick of it. I remember, I think he came back from a quad injury. And it was like, he was out for like 6 or 7 months. And he came back and people were going nuts. Why? Because they missed him. Even though they hated him, he had such an impact on the roster. He had such an impact in the division that they missed him. They didn't realize, you don't realize how good of something you have until it's gone. I think there will be some appreciation out there for Roman Reigns if you take him out of the spotlight. And while you take him out, you need to switch him up. You need to get him off that vest. Let him show his chest, man. Show people how big he really is. That vest does him no justice, in my opinion. The guy's got a great physique. You know, get a little more color into that black. You know, change the music and change the finisher and the sub finisher and give him a couple extra moves. And I think he'll be good. Honestly, that's my opinion. Last thing about the Chamber, and then we're going to move on. The Ronda Rousey signing. So this was a lot of fun. And because this was her first time, on a mic, you know, I really couldn't tell if she was genuinely feeling the way she was feeling or if she was acting. Either way, it was kind of odd to watch, you know, because she did look like she didn't know what to say, you know, and then you had Triple H, Stephanie, and Kurt Angle watching her, like, just silently, like, waiting for her to get through, I guess, her lines. I was very surprised with the crowd. A lot of people shouting, "You sold out." They were not feeling her. There were obviously a great amount of people that were over cheering that. So the still majority is supportive. But I was very surprised. There was a good portion of people there that they had nothing, they wanted nothing to do with Ronda Rousey. They were shouting her down. They were telling her she sold out. And I found that pretty weird, considering all the support she got. I think maybe some people are still upset at the fact that when she came out in Royal Rumble, she kind of, you know, she did steal the limelight from Asuka. That's very true. I agree with that. I thought they handled that poorly. But when this portion of the show got to the point where Kurt Angle started blurting out what Triple H and Stephanie McMahon were saying behind Ronda Rousey's back before the signing over time, that's when it became interesting, you know? And then you saw Ronda Rousey become Ronda Rousey. The stern look, that woman is scary. I gotta say, she is scary. She's very pretty. She's got a very nice smile. Like, she's coming out, I'm like, look at it. She doesn't look, and I'm here like lulling myself to sleep, looking at her smiling, and I'm like, she looks very sweet. She looks so innocent. You know, the big smile, real pretty, beautiful eyes. But man, when she puts on that face, when she's about to open up on you, yeah, that's scary. That's psychotic. And I thought it was great. That's when people started getting into it. I don't think people want to see the whole smiling, humble Ronda Rousey. They want to see the tough, cocky bitch that they fell in love with in MMA. And I guess I can understand. I never watched her. I mean, I've seen her MMA matches, but I don't watch MMA in general. And, finally when Triple H separated her and Stephanie McMahon and Triple H came over and she slammed him into the table, I actually got a reaction out of me. I was like, oh shit. I was like, cause I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that she slammed him into the table. I thought it was great. And everyone went nuts for that. Even the people who were not too sold on her, the people who were saying you sold out and all that stuff, even they were cheering. And I think she might have won him over with that one move, because she reminded everybody, yes, I'm smiling. Yes, I'm at a loss for words and I'm humbled and all this, but don't get on my bad side. I will whoop your ass. And She did. She took Triple H and put him through the table. And we all knew this was, everybody knew the rumors. We all knew that Ronda's first match at WrestleMania would be a tag match against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. That's been in the rumorville for weeks now. But to see it pop off like that was good. And then to have Stephanie come in and smack her, and she basically didn't even need to touch Stephanie McMahon. She stared her out of the ring. It was great. I thought it was great. It started off very awkward because, again, I can't tell if she was playing that way or if she was genuinely acting that way. I need to see more time with her on a mic. That might be her biggest weakness, is probably being on the mic. So maybe what we saw was really Ronda Rousey losing her words and stumbling upon herself, and almost near tears. Either that or those acting classes that she took early last year are really paying off. It's hard to predict now because when you think Ronda Rousey, you don't think acting, but I do remember her taking or hear her or heard mention of her taking acting classes early last year at some point or sometime last year. So we'll see. And she has been training, I believe, since November with WWE, if I'm not mistaken as well. So I'm sure part of that training has to do promoing, getting in front of the mic, getting in front of the camera. So we'll see. We'll see, but it's going to be fun. I hope we see more of her leading up to WrestleMania. I don't want this just to be the signing, and then we don't see her until WrestleMania. I would like to see a build-up. I would like to see her in a match, honestly. I want to see what she's got. I would love to see her in a match, but it looks like her first match will be WrestleMania. But I suspect we'll see her pop around here and there. So, all right. So overall, Elimination Chamber was just okay. The problem with Elimination Chamber is it's a pay-per-view that predictably sets up WrestleMania for all different kinds of wrestlers. So it's hard to be entertained by something. I mean, most of the time we do know what's going to happen, but when you know what's going to happen at the biggest event that WWE has and you don't agree with it, it makes it harder to swallow. I think a lot of people were hoping for a surprise from Seth Rollins winning, but not yet. Okay. So, Godzilla. Now, we had 2 Godzilla videos recently and, talking about the trailer prediction, which of course, that wasn't a prediction as to when it was going to drop. It was more of a prediction as to what we were going to see. A lot of you were responding, real positively to that and gave your opinions, which were great. I did read a lot of them in the comment section. It was really good stuff. A lot of people do agree that it's either going to be very, very, ambiguous or we might actually see some stuff. But it's going to be exciting, man. We're a couple of minutes away from that. Also, we had a discussion with, Godzilla and Kong with the filming beginning in October. And that's also very exciting because we know that Kong versus Godzilla comes out a year later. And, there were a couple of questions. I just grabbed 2. I think I felt like there were more, but for some reason I only grabbed 2. And I want to address them here because if you guys, I know this is something we've done in the past. A lot of people like to do this. So I want to open that door for everybody. And, before the questions start coming in on a regular basis, I want to grab as many as I can now. So we're going to take these first and then, we're going to talk a little Godzilla, a little Cloverfield, and then we're going to wrap it up. Ray Norman, hey Rob, do you think Toho will do another Godzilla movie? I love Shin Godzilla and think it deserves more. Too bad you're speaking the truth about future G movies. It's always about the money. No matter what, though, I will always be a G fan from my last breath, and we all will. I do think Toho will do another Godzilla movie. I think it's probably in the planning now. I think it'll be after either this Godzilla movie or after the Kong versus Godzilla movie. Whether or not it would be a complete sequel to Shin, I'm not sure. I mean, Shin obviously was, despite how I feel about it, because everybody knows how I feel about it, Shin Godzilla was very successful. It was very well received. And they may not want to ruin it with a sequel. Sometimes sequels to movies that are that acclaimed do not do well. But I do think they want to do another one. They might want to do something a little bit more traditional. Who knows? I don't see why they wouldn't, honestly. Right now, if they're going to do more Godzilla movies, right now is the time to do them. Because number one, they're getting a lot of profits from Legendary, through royalties, which some of those royalties from the first movie, they did put towards Shin Gojira. I know a lot of people get upset when I say this because they keep saying that the movie was planned before the Godzilla 2014 movie. And yes, to a certain extent, it was shortly planned, but the actual budget, the money used to make Shin Gojira, some of that money, a good portion of that money, I should say, did come from the profits of what they got from Godzilla 2014. So I don't see why that would change anything. If Godzilla 2 does well and does well in Japan, I do think they'll take some of those profits as well and make another Godzilla movie. I don't think you've seen the last of a Shin Godzilla movie. Toho Godzilla movie. They've said many times it'll be the last one. This will be it. And they've come back and they do another one. So, I don't think you've seen the last of a Toho Godzilla. Not at all. Not at this point. It's too hot right now. Travis Marshall. I like how Godzilla 2014 did quite well in Japan, but do you think King of the Monsters will do even better? Do you think King of Monsters will do better there or more or less the same? Sucks that it's a whole year and a month away, but hopefully at this time then I will have just arrived from its premiere. I think it'll do fine. I think it'll do better than 2014 because I think a lot of Godzilla fans over there in Japan will want to see America's interpretation of first of all, Mothra. So I think that alone is going to make it very, probably do better than 2014. I think the Japanese Godzilla fan base in Japan will want to see America's interpretation of Ghidorah and Mothra primarily. And, I think Mothra is going to play a bigger role behind that than anything. So yeah, I think it'll probably do better. And, yeah, that's a good point though. That's actually a good question. Because Godzilla 2014 did do well. Shin Gojira did better in Japan. But I think Godzilla King of Monsters or King of the Monsters, I think it'll do better than 2014. Whether or not it does better than Shin remains to be seen. It depends how much leg power it has after the initial viewing. Will Japanese fans like what they see? Will they agree with the interpretation? Especially of Mothra, who's probably the second most popular monster in Japan behind Godzilla. So if Mothra is done well and the Japanese audience likes America's interpretation of Mothra, then yes, I think it will do very good. So I wanted to cover those questions. I think there were more, so if I missed your question, I do apologize. I want to keep this video as short as audio, I should say, as short as possible. We're moving up 40 minutes. So, we will definitely talk more Godzilla during this week. And, if you have any questions, put them in the comment section and I will address them during that recording. But in terms of Godzilla, once again, we all know that Godzilla vs. Kong is filming. We all know that the Godzilla Comic-Con trailer is, probably a couple of months away. And there will be a lot to talk about when that happens. I'm very excited. We got Pacific Rim coming out in a couple of weeks. So that's going to be a big deal. Wouldn't it be amazing if we saw something Godzilla related before Pacific Rim? That was something that somebody mentioned that in the comment section as well. I don't think we will, but that would be great if we saw, and he's talking about trailer, not like something related to Godzilla and Pacific Rim in the movie. But there was someone who mentioned that wouldn't it be great if they dropped a teaser right before Pacific Rim? And I said, yeah, that would be great. So last thing I want to talk about here, Cloverfield. So JJ Abrams is now confirming that the monster we see at the end of Cloverfield Paradox, I was going to say Godzilla Paradox, imagine, is indeed the monster from the first movie. And everybody's hands have just been smacking the forehead because it was 100% confirmed, even with viral photos as marketing after the movie was done, that the Cloverfield monster was dead. Now, there is an end scene where you can hear somebody whisper it's still alive, but even after that, because that was during I think it was the end credit scene, I believe it was the end credit scene, like at the very, very end, right before the credits are done. But even still, it was confirmed 100% by JJ and by photographic evidence, so to speak, for lack of a better term, because they released some minor viral marketing after the movie was released for a couple of weeks that showed basically the military on the beach or somewhere near the water, and you can see the monster's body parts all over the place. And I remember seeing these pictures, so I know it's true. And it was confirmed dead. It was confirmed dead. So now it's not dead. Now it's alive. And now apparently it's the size of Mount Everest. And I'm so done with this, I think, Cloverfield thing. Like, I know they're coming out with another one this year, and it's like, what are you doing with this? Where are we going? What is the point of this? You're going on a fourth movie now. Okay? Now, out of the 3 movies that are out so far, you've had the monster in one movie, and then a small cameo in the last movie. 10 Cloverfield Lane obviously was a good movie in and of itself. But here's the deal. 10 Cloverfield Lane was a great movie. The original Cloverfield was a great movie. Cloverfield Paradox was mediocre at best. I personally enjoyed it, but for the most part, it's the worst of the 3. But let's face truth here. People are interested because of the monster. Bottom line. That's what people are interested in. The monster's origins, the secrets behind it, where it's from, how did it become, blah, blah, blah. Why are we going on to a fourth movie and we're still not really learning too much about this monster? And now we're learning that the monster in the first movie is the same monster. Now, the question is, did JJ mean that literally, or is he trying to say it's the same monster in terms of species? That's what I'm trying to get at. That's what I'm trying to confirm. Is whether he's being taken out of context when he says it's the same monster. Same monster in terms of same exact monster that was exploded, or same monster as in same species monster that we saw in the first movie. Either way, even the wording at this point is getting confusing. I don't suspect the fourth movie coming out later this year is going to answer any questions. And I'm honestly at this point, I don't even care. I don't even care. This has been going on for 10 years. All people wanted was a direct sequel answering questions. And basically, JJ Abrams is trying to make the cinematic universe of Lost, where you got to wait 7 seasons and however many episodes to get an answer. And then at the end, the answer is not satisfying. We haven't even gotten any answers yet. And right now, this is far from satisfying. So, I mean, individually, these movies have been good. Like 10 Cloverfield Lane was really, really good. Cloverfield was good. I had a lot of fun watching Paradox. I don't think it was as good as the other 2, but I had fun watching it. So I'm still going to see the fourth one. But I think I'm done investing any of my time or any value into what the fuck they're trying to do with the series. And sometimes you do not have to overcomplicate things. People thought Cloverfield was a great movie because it was filmed interestingly. It had a monster in it. And there is, while it's a niche market, there is a lot of demand for monster movies. People love monster romps. It's just that you can't saturate the market with it. It has to be a one and now thing. Once and again, every now and then have a monster romp out there. But this is not a monster romp. This is just a conspiracy theory that involves a monster. And people are interested in the monster. I don't think people could give a fuck about anything else. I mean, yes, what's driving people's interest are answered to questions that you laid out in the first movie. Questions that, they've been answered to a certain extent, but they've been answered very lazily. I mean, having multiple universes is not exactly a groundbreaking idea. Hello, Flash? There's so many creative things they could have done to incorporate this universe into one world. But now it's the easy answer of, it's multiple universes, all developed and all accessible through this one event called the Paradox. Now it's just not fun anymore. Now, you kind of do have the answer. Now whenever you see a Cloverfield movie, it's just a small part in a very big universe that I'm assuming they're going to keep milking it until people are finally like, all right, I'm done. And part of this universe just happens to have a monster. The monster is not even the focal point anymore. So, you know what? I'm good. You know, I got Pacific Rim coming out. I got Godzilla next year. I don't need Clover. Thank you. All right, guys, that's it for this one. It's been a lot of fun. I hope to, once again, talk to you guys soon. I know a lot of people, just want to say real quick, some people thought there was going to be a live stream last weekend. There was never a live stream planned. I did that one live stream as my way of saying thank you to everybody who showed up and showed very, very strong support, during the earlier live stream of that same week. Right now, like I said, everything's going to be audio until, number one, until I can show you guys that I can have consistency doing videos every day or every other day and every week, not having long gaps of no content. And once I feel comfortable that you guys have seen that, then you guys will see the Patreon go up, and hopefully I can get enough support from people that I can rent a studio, because I know once I have a studio, then I can actually go back to doing videos, and doing videos not like recent. I'm talking old school, you know, old content like my Godzilla videos, my bullshit videos, my conspiracy theories, all that great stuff we used to have a lot of fun with. So I'm hoping we can get back to that. But until then, you guys have a fantastic week. We'll do some more stuff. We have a lot more to talk about this week. Like I said, I want to talk about more of the Black Panther power run, and there'll be plenty more to talk about as the week progresses. We'll obviously discuss Raw at some point, either tomorrow or Wednesday, and SmackDown, and we'll see if there's any follow up to what happened at Elimination Chamber on Raw. But I'll definitely be around again this week. If you have any more questions regarding Godzilla or anything else for that matter, you can leave them here in this comment section, and I'll be sure to get them in the mailbag for the next podcast. Until then, you guys have a fantastic day. This is Rob signing off for ETN, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment.
Thank you for listening to Entertainment Talk Nation. Don't forget to rate and follow and visit us on YouTube at ETN, where you can subscribe to the channel for daily content.